Hello. Today is March 22nd and the time is around 6:30 p.m. India time. At 5 p.m. today, me and my neighbors came out in the balcony and started clapping. Some of them had some metal objects in their hands which they started banging together. Um, it was so nice to see smiling faces in this time of quarantine. So the joyful faces, people were blowing conch shells, and it was pure joy. And I know it's not going to solve the problem that we are facing, but at least um such moments of um such moments of joy make it a bit more bearable, and shows how, I mean, there is no limit of human endurance in times like these. So, one more day passed, and we are still fighting to contain the virus. Anyway, today I'm here with another story. This story is by one of my most favorite authors, Mr. Ruskin Bond. It's a collection of his stories in a book called A Night Train at Deoli. So it's a lot of short stories are there. If you're a fan of short stories like me, you can get a hold of this book. So it's pretty nice, and let's get started then. The story that I'm about to read is called A Face in the Night, and I don't know when exactly it was written, but it's a short one, much shorter than the one which I read out yesterday. Anyway, let's get started. A Face in the Night by Ruskin Bond. It may give you some idea of rural humor if I begin this tale with an anecdote that concerns me. I was walking alone through a village at night when I met an old man carrying a lantern. I found, to my surprise, that the man was blind. "Old man," I asked, "if you cannot see, why do you carry a lantern?" "I carry this," he replied, "so that fools do not stumble against me in the dark." This incident had only a slight connection with the story that follows, but I think it provides the right sort of tone and setting. Mr. Oliver, an Anglo Indian teacher, was returning to his school late one night on the outskirts of the hill station of Simla. The school was conducted on English public school lines, and the boys, most of them from well to do Indian families, wore blazers, caps, and ties. Life magazine, in a feature on India, had once called the school the Eton of the East. Mr. Oliver had been teaching in the school for several years. He is no longer there. The Simla Bazaar, with its cinemas and restaurants, was about 2 miles from the school, and Mr. Oliver, a bachelor, used to stroll into the town in the evening, returning after dark, when he would take a shortcut through a pine forest. When there was a strong wind, the pine trees made sad, eerie sounds that kept most people to the main road. But Mr. Oliver was not a nervous or imaginative man. He carried a torch, and on the night that I write of, its pale gleam, the batteries were running down, moved fitfully over narrow forest path. When its flickering light fell on the figure of a boy who was sitting alone on a rock, Mr. Oliver stopped. Boys were not supposed to be out of school after 7 p.m., and it was now well past 9. "What are you doing there, boy?" asked Mr. Oliver sharply, moving closer so he could recognize the miscreant. But even as he approached the boy, Mr. Oliver sensed that something was wrong. The boy appeared to be crying. His head hung down, he held his face in his hands, and his body shook convulsively. It was a strange, soundless weeping, and Mr. Oliver felt distinctly uneasy. "Well, what's the matter?" he asked, his anger giving way to the concern. "What are you crying for?" The boy would not answer or look up. His body continued to be raked with silent sobbing. "Come on, boy. You shouldn't be out here at this hour. Tell me the trouble. Look up." The boy looked up. He took his hands from his face and looked up at his teacher. The light from Mr. Oliver's torch fell on the boy's face, if you could call it a face. He had no eyes, ears, nose, or mouth. It was just a round, smooth head with a school cap on top of it. And that's where the story should end, as indeed it has for several people who have had similar experiences and dropped dead of inexplicable heart attack. But for Mr. Oliver, this was not end there. The torch fell from his trembling hand. He turned and scrambled down the path, running blindly through the trees and calling for help. He was still running towards the school building when he saw lanterns swinging in the middle of the path. Mr. Oliver had never before been so pleased to see the night watchman. He stumbled upon the watchman, gasping for breath and speaking incoherently. "What is it, Sahib?" asked the watchman. "Has there been an accident? Why are you running?" "I saw something horrible. A boy weeping in the forest. He had no face." "No face, Sahib?" "No eyes, nose, mouth, nothing." "Do you mean like this, Sahib?" asked the watchman and raised the lamp on his own face. The watchman had no eyes, no ears, no features at all, not even eyebrows. The wind blew the lamp out, and Mr. Oliver had his heart attack. Thank you. I think it's growing dark outside here as well. Anyway, thank you for your patience and listening. I hope you liked this. If possible, we'll meet again. Thank you and take care.